Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Dolphins Brawl. I am your host, Louis Sung, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Chad Ronenbaum. And once again, for the second week in a row, we have our two good friends, Dante, Collinelli, and
Woo,
Ron
got it
Canniff.
right.
Yeah,
I got it right. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Dante Collinelli and, of course, Ron Canniff. We are going to be going right over this one more time. Another mock draft, ladies and gentlemen. But this time, the goal is at least for the first couple of rounds, we are going to stand pat. This is called the stand pat draft. We are not going to be trading up. We're not going to be trading down. We're going to let the chips fall as they may and see what we can get with the first, because we've always been talking about for the past few weeks now, the Dolphins have, 5 picks in the top 60 picks. So we're going to use those top 60 picks and see what happens. And then after that, if we have some extra time, because I know that last time it was just a long show, 2 hours worth of show. So I don't know if you guys managed to make it through that. Congratulations if you did. You guys are really, really on top of things. But this time we're going to try to speed it up a little bit. But we are going to try, at least for the first few rounds, to get for at least the top 60 players. We're just going to let the chips fall where they may, and then we'll discuss maybe trading up for some better talent. All right, so let me just turn off that phone because it should not be buzzing during the middle of the show. Okay, so without further ado, Dante's in the driver's seat this time, which is fitting since he's the most draft knowledgeable out of all of us. So we're going to go ahead and get right to it. Dante, what is the board?
All right, so we got to wait for it to go. We got Burrow, Young, Okudah, and Tristan Wirfs off the board. So we're looking at our pick of quarterback. We have Tua, Herbert, Isaiah Simmons still on the board, Mekhi Becton still on the board, Derek Brown, Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills round out the first about 10 guys.
Is that how you say his first name, Mekhi?
Yes, that is how I say it. Is that correct?
I don't know. I've been saying Mekhi, which is probably really wrong.
I think it's
Mekhi. Yeah, I think it's Mekhi.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now.
All right. So number 5 overall, we have Tua, we have Herbert, we have Isaiah Simmons. Gentlemen, do you feel the temptation? Because all of a sudden, hearing the name, I know we need a quarterback, and I know that Tua's right there, but just hearing the name, and you know what could happen if we did it too. Just Isaiah Simmons. Is there even the slightest bit of temptation to be like, well, we could get our quarterback later?
Not for me. I think you got it right. If anything goes as planned, we're not going to be picking in the top 5, hopefully for a while. So to get the top end quarterbacks is not easy to do. So I don't think you could anticipate getting one later. You're taking a risk if you're going to try to fall back or you try to get Jordan Love. All purposes, there's a lot of people think Jordan Love's going to go before our 18th pick, so that would require a trade up. So I think for me, I'm picking between Tua and Herbert right now.
All right, Mr. Canniff.
I'd love to take Simmons, but I think about it. You got Tua and Herbert. You figure one of them's going to the Chargers right away. This app doesn't automatically do trade ups, obviously, because that's the one equation of this. By waiting for 5, we could wait for 500 times, and 100 times either Tua or Herbert's probably going to be there. May not be that way in real life, but if you go all the way to 18, it's almost like if you take Simmons here, now you got to look at packaging some picks up to go get a quarterback, because there's a risk that maybe not even Love in real world. One of them's gone at 6. Herbert probably gone not long after to somebody. And then it's all about, does Love even fall to you? So it's risky to take Simmons. It's nice. It'd be nice to come away with Simmons and your quarterback. I just don't know what it would take to get there.
Yeah, I agree with the guys. I mean, obviously Simmons is like the perfect Brian Flores type defensive chess piece, but I mean, you can't pass on a quarterback here.
I ultimately agree with you, but it's just, you can just picture it in your head, and it's like, man, that would be awesome.
Well, I mean, do you want to consider, and maybe we don't just mock, but a consideration of you take Simmons and then you're taking your 26th and your 18th and you're trying to move up to grab a guy. You're probably not going to move up with the Chargers. That's going to be too expensive for one. You're just going to let them take whoever they're going to take. And then do you consider, okay, we got to look at the rest of these teams here. Can we move up to grab Herbert? I'm not saying we do it here, but it's probably what the situation would be, assuming it got to 5 and no one had taken a quarterback yet, which I personally don't think is going to happen. But I think someone's going to jump up for somebody at some point, because there's just enough quarterback needy teams that if the Dolphins don't jump up, someone else will.
Oh, absolutely. I like Simmons. I mean, he's an unbelievable talent, but at the same time, guys like that can be difficult to place. I mean, is he going to be a safety? Is he going to be a linebacker? And I understand the idea is somebody like Flores can move him around, but you can also end up with players like that. Maybe he's just not that good of a safety, and he's not that good of a linebacker. So what do you do with him?
See, here's the thing, because their comparisons that I've heard is he's a bigger, stronger Derwin James. The Bucs didn't have much trouble placing Derwin James, or was it the Chargers? I forget.
Yeah, Chargers. The Bucs should have drafted him, but they.
Oh, that's why I was thinking it.
Yeah.
You'd like to think that for sure. I mean, he's got the talent, but again, I don't know. He doesn't have a defined position for you, and so I'm just kind of to use that much up to get him, because I absolutely agree with Ron. There's no way you're getting Herbert or Tua without a trade up, and it's very questionable if you're going to get Jordan Love without a trade up. And this team needs a lot of pieces. As we went through the mock draft last week, just giving up that second overall, or our second round pick, our original second. Look how hard it was for us to get our linemen at that point when we jumped up and grabbed Tua, because there are 4 really good rated offensive linemen in this draft, but they're all most likely going to be off the board by the time we get to 18. We'd have to have the board fall just right to probably get one to fall to us at 18. And so giving up those assets, our other number 1 picks and stuff, to have to move up for a quarterback. So to me, if you don't take your quarterback at 5, you're not taking quarterback unless you maybe get Jordan Love at 18. That's what I'm thinking.
All right, so we'll go, maybe next week we'll go into it again and see, let's see what happens if we do Simmons and go quarterback later. So we can because again, there are options to explore for the future. So, all right, Dante, go ahead and hit Tua Tagovailoa. He is the newest Miami Dolphins quarterback, hopefully the last of that long hydra.
All right, letting the simulator run. Mekhi Becton, Isaiah Simmons, Andrew Thomas, Derek Brown, Jedrick Wills, Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, DeAndre Swift, CJ Henderson, Javon Kinlaw, Kalavian Chason. We're on the board. Justin Herbert's still on the board, by the way, pick 18, which is wild.
Of course he is.
Yeah, the 4th overall player on the board, according to the Draft Network, still there. Xavier McKinney, Grant Delpit, Justin Jefferson, J.K. Dobbins, Jeff Gladney, Christian Fulton, Jordan Love still on the board, Zach Bond, Jonathan Taylor, Denzel Mims round out the first page of guys still on the board.
I think it was interesting. I just was going to say I thought it was interesting that Ruggs went before Jeudy, but that was just a comment on what the draft before.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the Alabama guy. Tell me why.
Jeudy he's really great, but he didn't shine in his senior season, especially once Tua was out. He didn't shine, but Ruggs continued to. Ruggs just has some blazing speed, and I think you look at the Super Bowl and you just see Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying Ruggs is Tyreek Hill, please don't freak out. But if you're trying to build a team in that prototype, maybe you'd want to draft Love and Ruggs. You know what I mean? If you're trying to build it in that Chiefs mold. It could be that. It's just a simulator, so it's not a person doing it. I don't have a real explanation. I just thought it was interesting, that's all.
If it makes you feel any better, I comped Ruggs to Hill in my final receiver rankings. I mean, if you're going to comp him to anybody, I think that's the comp that should be made as far as what he should be able to do at the next level. So
and
I don't think that's
without
too crazy.
that's without the extra drama, right?
Yes.
Well, we don't know. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Bro, if anybody would know, I would hope it was you, because you're the guy who follows him closely.
Yeah, true.
All right, so where do we want to go here?
So who's our top-rated offensive tackle on the board right now, Dante?
Well, see, that's what I just looked at. And,
there was a run on tackles.
There was a run on tackles. So we're looking at Isaiah Wilson, Josh Jones, Ezra Cleveland, Austin Jackson, Lucas Niang.
Here we go. late
just
first,
like
early
last
second guys again. Here we go again,
Yeah.
right where we were before.
So top 4 did not fall to us. And then
I
if we
think
want
for a discussion point
go-
where we're at. Oh, go ahead, Dante.
we still have the top interior player on the board. Yeah, we still have the top interior players on the board. None of them have been drafted yet. So Cesar Ruiz, Cushenberry, Jonah Jackson, Matt Hennessy are all still available.
They won't be
Okay.
drafted till later. But what were you gonna say, Chad?
Well, for me, I think this is very realistic what the Dolphins are going to face because this is just personally, I don't think the Dolphins are trading up in this draft. I think if somebody's going to jump up to 3, like with the Lions or somebody, the Dolphins are just going to sit and they'll take maybe if it's Herbert or Tua, whoever gets jumped up. But once we pass that pick, it appears from all the drafts I'm looking at, it seems unlikely that one of those top 4 tackles are going to make it to 18. And I think that's probably realistic. So I think the real question here is, if you're the Dolphins right now, do you take somebody like McKinney, like we did last week, and you get a really solid defensive player, and then try to target one of those top interior guys at 26? Or I know we're not trading this week, but I'm just asking your preference, or do you package some picks to try to move up in the first round to get one of those 4 tackles? And if so, which one would you go after?
If it goes like the way it is, then probably anybody who's even there at that point, like kind of figure it out after that.
Well, I guess the question would be, do you give up like maybe our 3rd round pick or even our 2nd round pick packaged with our like 26th round pick maybe to try to move up?
Well, I guess since we get a little hindsight here, of those 4 top tackles, Dante, where did it go? How close were we to nabbing one? It's part of why Herbert is still sitting there is because that happened. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, somebody has to be left.
Yeah, the big pivot point was the Chargers taking Becton at 6 instead of
Right.
Herbert, which is what the mock usually does. So Becton
That
went at
sucked
6.
one out.
Yeah, Thomas went at 8, and Wills went at 10.
We weren't even close.
Yeah, we weren't even close.
So
yeah.
and worse went ahead of us at 4. So
Right,
they were
which
all-
I think
So
that's
we're not even
very
close.
likely
Yeah.
as well.
yeah, they were
'Cause
off the board in the top 10.
One other point I wanted to make, I saw an article this week was the Giants would love to have Chase Young fall to them. And I think the Redskins know that. And so
I think everybody would be happy for Chase Young to
Yeah, I
fall.
was about
well,
to
no,
say,
I'm just pointing out, though, if you're the Redskins, if you don't take Chase Young, let's say the Redskins decide to go crazy and take Tua, then you are setting up the Giants to get Chase Young, who's in your division. Because I don't think or the Lions might take him, but I still think the Lions are locked in on Okuda. And so if that happens, the Redskins probably aren't going to do that. So I guess the point I'm making is I think Wirtz to the Giants is very, very probable right now with the way the draft's looking to fall to me. So I do think Wirtz will be off the board.
Over Simmons? You think they really take Wirtz or
I think
left tackle
Giants,
over Simmons?
I think the Giants really need a tackle badly, just like the Dolphins do. Maybe they'll take Simmons, but I think the Giants are going to have a hard time passing on the premier left tackle, one of those guys right there with Daniel Jones on their team.
I would bet this. I would bet that the Giants don't want to use the 4th to draft an offensive tackle. I would bet they get on the phone with the Chargers. Or, they're not going to get on the phone with the Dolphins to jump up to 4, probably. They probably get up on the phone. I'm not saying they make it happen. They just get on the phone with the Chargers and say, hey, do you want to get one spot ahead of Miami? You might be surprised how cheap we do it. To only drop down 2, they feel if their thought process is offensive tackle, they would love to gain something out of doing that. What a waste to pass on Simmons at 4 and draft an offensive tackle. Right. I would bet they try and cut some kind of deal with the Chargers, and then they're going to pick up the phone with the Dolphins and see if the Dolphins can do any better. They're going to try and gain something from drafting an offensive tackle at that spot.
That may happen, but even if that's the case, I think Miami's going to take the quarterback. I think whether it's Herbert or Tua, I still think Miami's taking one of the 2. Mm-hmm. I think Miami's high enough on both quarterbacks that they'll take one of the 2. And so to me, I think the Giants are taking a left tackle. That's the point. And so even if, with this draft simulator, I don't think there's hardly any chance the Chargers would take a tackle over Herbert. I think that's highly unlikely, but it's going to fall that way. And so I think the point for sure that as you go through the simulators and the mock drafts, I just don't think one of those 4 tackles are making it to 18. And Miami knows that. And so right now we do not have a left tackle or really a right tackle for that matter. And so I think it's fairly imperative for the Dolphins to get one of those top tackles right now. And I think we're going to have to look at doing a trade up to get that. I think that's what I'm starting to see from these simulators. I don't know if you guys agree, but we're going to have to come up from 18, probably into the top 15, maybe even the top 12 to get one of those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think some good target teams to trade up with, like I would call Tampa Bay at 14. I would call maybe even Jacksonville at 9 if they really are trying to blow that thing up and they want another first-round pick. I would call them. They have a ton of holes to fill, just like we do. Obviously, we're not going to call the Jets at 11.
The Jets got left out of this too.
Oh, the Jets need a tackle as well.
Well,
yeah,
they drafted,
got left out as well.
They drafted Henry Ruggs, so this is a worst case scenario for them as well. And they're much closer to it than we are. So I think it probably burns a little bit more for them than it does for us. But as far as the guys on the board, I know we took McKinney last week, but I still think he's far and away the best player here at 18. Yeah. I'd love to hear what you guys think. There's some edges here that aren't bad, and some cornerback options. But
Chason was the only one I wanted. If Chason is far above and far beyond the guy that I would have picked, because he's the second best pass rusher besides Chase Young, and I know his numbers don't say that, but watching his film, he's got some serious explosiveness to him. And from what I read from Draft Network, he can set the edge too, so he can still fit what the scheme is. So if he's gone, which he hasn't been available for the Dolphins to pick at 18 for a while now, he's been starting to climb up that board a little bit. So, yeah, for me, I'm picking Xavier McKinney again. We're gonna do it all over again. It's starting to look suspiciously familiar there.
So we didn't move up in the first two picks. We have the same exact two players.
Yes,
we did move up last week. That's funny.
But we still have the original second, which I think could be used on an interior guy as well. So.
Okay, so McKinney's the pick.
McKinney's the pick.
All right, letting it run. Jeff Gladney, Grant Delpit, Christian Fulton, Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert to the Patriots, Denzel Mims.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Every simulation has the Patriots picking whoever's left. And
Herbert, yep.
Yeah, and then Zach Bond goes right in front of us to the Vikings at 25.
Okay, can I ask you something, Dante?
Yeah.
Zach Bond. How come I haven't heard much about him from anybody? And we've heard about Yetur Gross-Matos. We've heard about AJ Epinesa. Why is this guy Bond not being talked about? Yet he seems to be ranked so high up here.
It's a good question. I think Bond is a guy who has a little bit of position flu. Like some people will rank him as an off-ball linebacker and not as a true edge. Some people don't think that he's, a pure pass rusher. They think that he's more of a.
So he's like Kyle Van Noy in that way.
I was literally about to say that I comped him to Kyle Van Noy. I started writing up my final edge rankings today, and I comped him to Kyle Van Noy. So I think that, that's the type of player that you're getting. I think he'd be perfect for Miami. Obviously, he goes right ahead of us. I don't know why more people aren't talking about him. But yeah, he's got pretty good burst. He's a really smart player. He's good dropping back into coverage. I think he can bend the edge a little bit. He's a solid run defender. He's not crazy explosive like Chason is, and I think a lot of people gravitate towards that. So.
Well, everybody wants that guy who can burst off the edge a la Cameron Wake and just blow up a play instantly.
I don't think the Dolphins are that worried about that, Louis.
I don't think the Dolphins are either. I'm saying that, but that's what teams look for when they're looking for pass rushers. They want that guy.
I just don't think Flores is too concerned with having a guy rush the quarterback with his hand on the ground. I think he's going to do lots of different blitzes. He's going to move Van Noy around. He's going to move Baker around. He's going to be blitzing those guys. I think he's primarily concerned with defensive ends that can set the edge and do a really good job at that. And so honestly, if you wanted the best fit for the Dolphins, it'd be AJ Epinesa in my mind, because he's a really big guy. He's going to give you some pass rush ability, but most importantly, he's got the ability to set the edge and rush the passer both. I think these really, really explosive Cameron Wake type guys off the edge are just not what Flores is looking for right now.
No, I understand that. I'm saying all I meant was that most teams, that's what they look for when they look for pass rushers. Not
well,
the Dolphins,
if you're running a 4-3, absolutely. I mean, if you're running a 4-3 defense, you need defensive ends that can rush the quarterback. But I really think Flores is going to be much more settled into Dewey.
Yeah,
when he runs a base, it'll be a 3-4. I don't think he's going to even run that much of that. I think it's going to be 5 and 6 defensive backs. Yep, that's what he likes to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so still on the board, we have J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Love, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Murray, Isaiah Wilson, Patrick Queen, Yetur Gross-Matos, A.J. Epinesa, Neville Gallimore, Cesar Ruiz, and Antoine Winfield Jr.
Dante, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not impressed with Isaiah Wilson. That's what you told me last week, right?
Yeah, no, I think he's a day 3 player based off of film. He's going to go much higher than that just because he's 6'7", 330 something, and he's a people mover.
Higher than Josh Jones? Why?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I just think that I think the NFL, the way that we're seeing offensive linemen go off the board. Like I remember when Houston drafted Titus Howard last year, I almost fell out of my chair, and it's just the league is really gravitating towards offensive linemen that are raw,
that are like giants.
And that they can mold them into whatever the hell they want. And that's what teams are going to see in Isaiah Wilson. I see a guy who struggles like hell to pass block in a league that throws the ball 70% of the time. And for me, I mean, that's a gigantic red flag. So, again, I'm not a huge Wilson guy, but realistically, he's probably a late first round, early second round pick.
Just based on what other teams think.
Are we at 26 right now, Dante?
Yes, we are.
Who do you have if you're the GM? Who's your top interior guy right now that you like? Offensive line.
So mine would be Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. I think he's guard, center, versatile. So if we want to start Ted Karras at center, we can push Ruiz to left or right guard. Yeah. So that would be my pick here probably. But he's a super good mover in zone. I think he's got enough pop to be a power guy, which is what we would run probably, or at least most of the time with Chan Gailey. So for me, it would be between him and probably J.K. Dobbins here or A.J. Epinesa. I think those would be the 3 that I would zero in on.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you guys want to take the debate.
Epinesa will make it to the second round. I'm sure.
I just think for Miami, I mean, I'd love to get A.J. Epinesa, but I think the need for offensive line is desperate right now. And so I think you've got to – if we take a top interior guy, this guy has to start. And so I think whether it's right or left guard, that doesn't matter. That allows us to move Jesse Davis probably to right tackle.
Oh, it matters because we have Eric Flowers as our left guard. You better not move him because if you mess with a good thing while it's still good, it's not going to be good anymore.
But I meant so he would just learn. You have to assume a guy can play left guard or right guard.
Yep. I remember we had a talk about that sort of thing with who was it? I remember we discussed it. I think it was during an interview. It was God, who was it? It was somebody who had moved from right guard to left guard. I can't remember who it was, but he basically said that you basically have to reset all your mechanics.
You do, but not if you do it in the middle of the season. That's one thing, but if you start out if we draft an interior lineman, I'm pretty confident they can teach him to play either guard. But what I like to do is if you're going to put a rookie guard in your lineup, I like him next to a veteran tackle. And so that Miami, I'd like Jesse Davis at right tackle with a rookie guard at right guard. And then if you have Flowers at left guard, he's a veteran, then you can move and get your left tackle hopefully in the second round. So I'm all for taking the guard in this pick versus an edge guy. I think for this team, if we don't get our linemen, we're in for a tough year right now. I don't think we have a choice at this point.
I'm all for taking Cesar Ruiz if that's the top guy. Again, offensive line help.
What do you think, Ron?
I think the lineman for sure. Especially, we saw what that kept looking like. We kept thinking last draft, oh, we'll get that guy in the second round. And it's just we were lucky to get anybody. It was nice the haul we brought in, but it was tough. These linemen are just going off the board in all these simulations so much faster than you think, and you hope. Maybe in the real draft it won't go that way, but most of these simulations, I've done different ones online, they just have these linemen throughout the first, second round disappearing a few spots quicker or 10 spots quicker than you think they're going to. So I think in this opportunity right now, we just have to do it.
Okay, so
All right.
Cesar Ruiz.
Cesar Ruiz.
All right, letting the simulator run. To pick 39.
And this is why I say we're only gonna do no trades up till the first top 60 because that's the idea is that the Dolphins are gonna use those top picks that we've got.
All right,
That's
so left on the board at 39, we have Patrick Queen, Antoine Winfield Jr., Josh Jones, Laviska Shenault, Noah Iguanabani, Marlon Davidson, Ezra Cleveland, T. Higgins, Austin Jackson, Terrell Lewis, and Jeremy Chin.
All right, now is when we take our tackle. No, Josh Jones probably.
Jones
would you
or
take
Jackson or
Yeah, I think Jones here is fine at 39. I think that's a reasonable place for him. You're minimizing that risk taking him in the second round. The two players I would have considered over him went off the board.
Well, we're not going to pick him yet, so we got to discuss
Yeah.
it. We're among the war room here.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that would be my guy here. I think that is
Is Lucas Niang win already?
Let's see. I don't think so. No,
'Cause
he's still on the board.
All
They
right,
just
so-
have him ranked lower than I do.
Right, okay, so if between Jones and Niang, you would take.
I would take Lucas Niang here if it was me. But again, I'd have to be comfortable with his medicals. He had a hip injury, not as bad as Tua's.
That's right, the hip.
But not even as close as bad as Tua's. But he played still through the injury. But I'd still have to be comfortable with that. Again, Josh Jones is clean as far as injuries are concerned. So I could totally understand drafting him here over Niang.
All right, so we already drafted one player, talent over durability, Tua over Herbert. Okay, let's take it from this perspective. What would you say Niang's ceiling is as opposed to Jones? Can we do that?
My distinction between the two players, I think Niang has a lower or a higher floor than Josh Jones. I think Josh Jones has a much higher chance to be a bust, just because he has so many bad habits that have been drilled into him at Houston. His footwork and his pass sets are just really sloppy. And I'm not an offensive line coach, but those things can be difficult to teach out of guys when they've been doing it for. He might have been this way since high school for all I know, and now I got to teach him out of this in the NFL at NFL speed. He's been doing the same stuff for 8 years. So that would be my gripe is that, I think Jones has more bust potential than Niang does. I think Niang is a guy who can come in and at the very worst, he's a starting right tackle in this league. He might not, I think he has a Pro Bowl ceiling as well. I think he can be a Pro Bowler, but at the very worst, I'd be surprised if he was not at least a solid starter.
But you said right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he played at TCU. I think, Chad was saying earlier about the guards. I think if you bring him in and the plan is right when you draft him to teach him how to play left tackle, I'm sure he can learn it. I don't think it's he can't play left tackle. I just think, he played right tackle at TCU. I think he would be immediately plug and play there. But I'm sure he could, there's nothing athletically that tells me he couldn't be a left tackle.
I only ask because I remember the Jawan James experiment. We moved him from right tackle to left tackle, and it wasn't pretty. It was this guy does not belong where he's currently at.
Here's the thing, though, that where this could get interesting is if it plays out and we get Tua like this draft, we don't need an amazing left tackle anymore.
Correct.
And so you could literally be even considering moving Jesse Davis to left tackle as soon as this year. If not,
and that he has done before. Not well, but he has done it.
Well, I'm just saying, what is your outlook? That'll be an interesting camp situation. If you have Tua and you've drafted a tackle in this draft, is it more important for him to learn right tackle or left tackle, or when do you make that change? I mean, that's something you worry about next year if Tua is healthy. But if you draft Tua in this draft, you suddenly don't have to have an elite left tackle, and which is usually what the rest of the NFL is after. Is that's probably the second or third highest paid position on the team for most teams is your left tackle. You're either investing a really high draft pick in him, or you're paying a lot of money to have one. And so we don't necessarily need a Larmy Tunsil like talent per se at left tackle. Whether or not we have to have that talent at right tackle is unknown, but that is a little bit of an advantage with Tua, is you can get right tackles who usually are a little lower valued than, say, a left tackle. And maybe next year have a guy that you've put like this that plays right tackle, and he'll be just fine going into next year.
Oh, my turn?
Yeah, I mean, you can cut off. Remember, you can cut off whenever you like. That's how this show works.
I guess I'm going to repeat myself from last week. I hate that every pick we come to, just about, we got to talk about all these linemen we got to draft to fix this line. Just don't know. I mean, we've made some, we made the pick there at the end of the first. And, I mean, who's the best running back on the board right now?
Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins.
Man,
they're off the board.
They're both off.
They are?
Yeah, we're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU, Cam Akers from FSU, and Antonio Gibson from Memphis are the top three right now.
We could possibly wait on Akers. I don't know. I mean, in that case, then, I mean, I guess we go with the line. We go with the tackle spot. I mean, our line is just, even with the pick we made in the pickup, if you look at the pick we made at 26, let's pretend that's what the Dolphins did. And then we grabbed Flowers, we grabbed Karras. I still hate it. I hate it. Yeah, so I think tackle here would just be important. I mean, we just gotta have to pick up some starting caliber tackles, I guess. If we're not able to grab other, I'm sorry.
Can we discuss something real quick?
Yeah, anything.
You remember the second wave of free agency?
Yeah, I remember it.
So with all those tackles coming off the board, somebody might shake loose.
That's true.
I hate to
rely on
right
that.
No, not rely on it, but it's not like if we don't do it now, we'll never find a solution. Like more than likely,
we need
somebody's
going
to
get a solid line right now.
Some high profile, some expensive left tackle that's making too much money for their own good is going to shake loose from some team, and he can be like, "Here you go, dude. You lost your job. Now try to prove yourself with us."
Well, look, I mean, we talked about this last week already. If you don't draft a high tackle, we're going to have to take a tackle in the first or second round, maybe even two. But I'm fine with taking the interior guy too. But it's Trent Williams is your best option right now. The Redskins
are going to have to cut him. They're going to have to cut him. There's no way.
Nobody's going to take him. Sit out.
Nobody's taking him.
I think the Redskins, as this draft approaches, are going to be in that frame of mind. They're just going to take whatever they can get for him, and I believe he can be had for a third round pick, maybe even lower, but I believe he could be had for that.
My prediction is that the teams know that the Redskins are in this mess, and they know that barring like a 7th rounder or whatever, they know that the Redskins are either going to have to eat that money because Williams has made it pretty much clear he's not going to play for them, or they're just going to have to take the absolute bare minimum that nobody's going to give up a 3rd round pick if they know that the Redskins are like either eat the money or cut the guy.
Well, look, I think it was Pro Football Talk today or yesterday. There was an article out again that there's just nothing happening. And it doesn't sound like Ron Rivera has made any amends right now. And the Redskins are just sitting still. And basically, they said the asking price has just been too high for anything to happen. The Redskins want a 1st round pick, which they're not going to get. But I do.
Well, I don't even think they get a second.
But there's going to be a team that's going to be left out here, and whether it's like the Dolphins or the Jets or one of these teams aren't going to get a high caliber tackle in this draft, and that's the team that's probably going to be willing to play ball with the Redskins. And it's going to probably happen during the draft or shortly after the draft. That's when the Redskins are probably going to move him for whatever they can get. And I do believe they'll get, if you're a team like, let's say the Jets don't get a tackle, somebody like Adam Gase. Adam Gase can't afford to have a really bad year, so he might give up next year, 2nd or 3rd round pick.
That's an Adam Gase move all day long anyway.
Right.
Even if he's not on the hot seat. First year in, taking a 2nd or 3rd round and going to get an old, overpaid tackle because you think you're so smart you're going to win the Super Bowl, that feels like Adam Gase to me. That doesn't feel like Flores.
Oh, I know, 100% agree. I'm just saying if you're going to not draft him, that's your best choice right now because he has been a very high caliber player. I'm not saying I want to go get Trent Williams really bad, but I'm saying if you don't get your tackle within these first 2 rounds, that's your best choice.
Yeah, we may have no option. I mean, it's true. We really may not because we've just done nothing in the free agency, and if we don't get it in the draft. I mean, we got to get some kind of tackle in here.
I understand you want the running backs and stuff here, but to me, you don't have a choice right now other than to take a tackle, which I know you hate, but we've got to get a young, talented tackle. And the longer we wait, the more, I mean, at least right now there's some guys on the board that you can still play at tackle. I mean, we wait one more round, even the back of the second. I don't know if you're even going to get a tackle you could feel comfortable starting this coming season. So I think right now the clear-cut thing we're seeing, which I already mentioned, is in that first round, we are going to want to use our built-up draft picks at the back of the draft. We're going to want to trade like our fifth-round picks in packages to move up again in the first. After we pick at 5, I think we got to shoot to get into the top between 10 to 12, maybe right in front of the Jets. And, if we jumped in front of the Jets and drafted somebody like Andrew Thomas, I'd be really, really happy. But I think we're going to need to look at doing it, something like that.
Well, we'll think about that in the next thing. Okay, so my choice for this tackle is actually going to be Lucas Niang because we are already betting on one guy's hip to get better, and it's looking like it is. And if Niang's hip is also hurt, but it's not even close to as hurt as Tua's was, I'm good with it. Honestly, he'll recover. He'll be fine.
Okay, Lucas.
Does anybody want to do Josh Jones instead, or no?
No, I don't have a conviction otherwise, so I'm fine with going with Dante's top. That's who you're relying on, your scout.
Yeah, we got our scout there.
All right, Niang at 39, and we'll let it run to 56, the back end of that second round.
So the third round is when we can start doing trades. Let's see.
We're in the second, so.
It's almost.
Yeah, this is so pick 56. And Josh Jones is still on the board. Surprisingly.
Is Akers there?
That's been the theme of the draft. Hold on, it's loading. So top guys, I have Josh Jones, Ezra Cleveland, KJ Hamler, Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the top running back, Raekwon Davis, Ashton Davis, Willie Gay Jr., Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Devon Hamilton. Cam Akers should be on the board. Yes, he is. So Cam Akers is still there at 56 as well.
Gentlemen, we have an interesting discussion to have right now.
For me, I'm taking Josh Jones all day. I'm taking another tackle, but
double up.
Yeah, we don't have to. You don't have to hear Ron cry about the offensive line anymore, I guess.
Hey, I mean, this is the NFL, and maybe Jesse Davis tears his ACL in training camp.
Oh, geez,
we have no depth. I mean, we need linemen. I'm saying I think you can get by getting a running back later in this draft. That's just kind of where I'm at. But we have Jordan Howard.
I think for the value, Jones is better here than Akers. That's me. I don't know if Dante's going to agree with that because I know he's an Akers fan, but.
Well, I'm hoping between the two of them, you have a starting tackle next year, and if one of them doesn't pan out.
Let me point this out before Dante speaks. We've pretty much reached the top 60. It's okay to trade up now.
Well, after we make this pick.
After we make this pick, we can stop and trade up if we want to.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I would say here is getting Josh Jones at 56 is like almost where I have him ranked. So I think that would be a good pick. And, a term we like to use in the draft community a lot is, invested needs don't address needs. We're taking 3 straight offensive linemen here. We're investing in that need. You got to think at least 2 of those guys are going to be solid, hopefully. Obviously we took Ruiz in the first round, so we'd be confident about him. And then you got to think at least one of the tackles is going to be a guy. And if both of them are a guy, then you're set for the next, 3 to 4 years. So that would also be my pick here. I would probably go with Josh Jones. I just think that's too good of a value to pass up.
That's what I'm thinking too. Double up on that tackle and see if we can get something out of it.
All right, Josh Jones the pick. I'll try and pause it quickly so we can talk about a trade up as well.
As soon as the third round starts, just be like, got it.
All right. Let's let it run a little bit then. Stop it before the Bengals. Okay, so the draft is paused at pick 65. We have pick 70. So on the board right now, is Ezra Cleveland, Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Still
Ashton
there.
Davis is a safety, Willie Gay Jr. a linebacker, Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Those are 3 receivers. Devon Hamilton, interior defensive lineman, Cam Akers, the running back, Cameron Dantzler, the corner, and then Antonio Gibson, another running back. So
You said we had 60?
we're at 65, and we have picked 70. So there's 5 picks until we pick again. I don't know
There's
if you
2
guys want to trade up.
I
or
don't.
not.
You know what, guys? I think either Akers or Edwards-Helaire is going to be there at 65.
Akers is off the
At
board,
70.
No,
you
he's
mean?
not. He's on the board. He's still there.
Akers is on the board, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also on the board.
though. Oh,
I say we just let it run to 70.
I would
myself.
let it roll. Yeah.
Let it roll. All right, we'll let it roll.
And the verdict is
Mm,
They're all gone, everybody.
a little slow. All right, Clyde Edwards-Helaire went off the board, but we still have Cam Akers if we want him.
I think this is where you take him.
Is there anybody
So you
else
do it.
there that would look to look at?
The only other player I would give consideration to would be Devon Hamilton out of Ohio State. He's the interior defensive lineman. I have Akers ranked ahead of him, but just for the sake of a discussion, I think the Dolphins would really benefit from getting a nose tackle.
More Buckeyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Hamilton is, he's a nose, I think probably is his best position, but, he's not just a run stuffer. He's got some juice, so I think he brings a little bit of pass rush upside.
That's hard
I
to
think
pass up.
Yeah, I think in a bubble, I'd probably draft Cam Akers here still, but for the sake of conversation, I think Devon Hamilton is another good option.
I'm with Devon Hamilton at this point. Running backs are so interchangeable in today's NFL, and we absolutely would benefit from having that nose in there in the row. And the way Flores wants to play defense, you need that guy. I don't think we have him right now. Maybe Wilkins, but
we did have one, but I don't think they're bringing him back. Like every time we've talked to him, he kind of talked about how it was a great experience, and he's like, "Dude, you're talking like you're not coming back."
But it's a young player upside to him, and I just feel like, even if we go get an older back to rotate with Howard, I think we could
We already
I know.
got an older back. Well, he's not older, but y'all think he's all beat up.
Right.
We're gonna get 2 beat up, injury prone, either old or injured, injured guys for our, to go with the guy you hate, Patrick Laird, and the guy someone else in here loves, Balaj. Oh, that's also you, Chad. And
I don't
no,
where
I hate
did you get I love Balaj.
You tried
just
to
woke me
play
up, man. You
devil's
just
I
advocate
just
last
feel
week.
like you can make him work in the 4th and 5th rounds with the backs a lot of times, but
I don't. I mean, I guess this is where we've all been just for a podcast and a half, just saying, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Oh, it's Shangri-La. It's so nice. We're gonna agree. No, I'm Akers here. I mean, if you guys
I'm not
we can do majority
opposed.
rules. But
I'm
just
not
know I
upset.
will object to anything but Akers here in this spot. That's
Both-
just
Dante,
both
do you
players
see
are
any
rotating.
threats for Akers?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you-
Well, the problem is that we do not have a pick for a while here.
And that's why I say this is what I say. We can now with the top 50, that top 60 is done. Trade
So
up
we
are
will
like
pick,
okay.
So the pick that we're at right now is pick 70. After that, we don't pick again until 141, which is a
by
comp
then
pick in the
Akers will
4th
definitely be
round.
gone.
I think
So
we
we're not.
I think we pick one and we try to trade up for the other then.
Can
this
we
is where
trade
use
up
our fists.
before we
I
do
like
our
that.
current pick?
No, I stopped it at our current pick. 'Cause
No,
we
what
let
I'm
it
saying is
run.
that if I'm saying, can we trade up to another pick before we make our current pick?
Oh, here goes Lewis. You're
like-
trying to get us fired
like-
again, man.
No,
We're lucky we
come
saved
on,
our
Lewis.
job last
Yeah,
year.
you keep your pick. You keep pick.
We
70,
want
and
both
then trade
these
up.
guys. We have one right now, right?
All right, let's see how it goes. So
70 or whatever.
where
I'm
do
not-
you guys want to move up to get Akers is the question, because they have him rated at pick 65 and he's still on the board at pick 70. So you got to think he's probably coming off the board.
I think you take Akers right here, and then we
Okay.
have 3/5. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have 3/5 and we can trade that 4th too if we want to.
I think we
so
offer 4th and a 5th maybe to jump up. To go after.
all right.
All right, so
So
let's.
we're gonna
pick
settle
Akers.
on.
Let's pick
we're gonna
Akers and
settle
then
on
pause
Akers.
it right away.
All right.
Well,
so
let's see about this. So you said Akers is what we're picking now.
yes.
How
we just
far
picked him.
down? How far down do you suppose? What's his name? I forget.
Devon Hamilton.
Devon Hamilton.
Honestly, I'm surprised he's still on the board. I'm going to be honest. I mean, they have him rated at 64, and we're at 72. So you got to think he's probably not going to be around.
I mean,
a lot longer.
At this point, we've got everything we've wanted. We've got our quarterback. We've added the safety we want on that defense because we run a lot of 5 and 6 D-backs. We've got our running back. We've added some young talent to our offensive line, and we don't need 14 picks under contract right now.
Right, that's why I'm saying now is the time to trade up.
5th round pick. So let's start with the 4th and a 5th right now.
Yeah. So
right now
we
the
would
picks
trade up
are
to.
So, but hold on though. So we're chasing Hamilton, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think let's just go
Yes.
get him, and then if we don't get anybody else in this draft, I'm pretty happy.
All right. So the Cardinals are on the clock after us. So we want pick 72. You said a 4th and a 5th.
Yeah. That's what I'm on.
All right, let's see what we do. Let's see what we
All
get.
right.
Take it.
Which 5th are we giving up?
I think
153.
the highest one.
The highest one.
Yeah, because I think this is going to be really stretching it to get a yes on this anyway. That's my opinion.
All right.
You could throw in a couple
Trade.
seconds in there.
Throwing all the 7s, who cares?
All right. So the
Not doing
Cardinals
anything.
denied a 4th and our highest 5th.
All right,
I would
so
throw in
think
another.
it's-
Let's give another 5th then in it.
let-
Yeah,
no,
I'll
no,
love
it.
no more fifths.
Offer a
No. Come on. Let's give it some of those late rounders. Like let's still
Well,
try
that's
to get
fine.
the value out of it.
Do it. So a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. Do you want to try that?
Sure.
Do
Which
seven, who
7?
cares?
All
Both
right,
of
so-
them.
Highest 7,
Highest 7th. All right.
and they're going to say
Let's
no.
see. Nope. Denied again.
Yeah, no, they're not. That's too much space there, in my opinion.
Let's do a
Such a gap.
4th, a 5th, and a 6th. Just we'll do that.
We're gonna
All
we're
right.
gonna keep going until they say yes. If not, then we just try the next.
My thought process: what are we keeping these later picks for? Versus
So
go
they
get a
said
start?
no. They said no again to a 4 or 5 and a 6. Do
Okay,
you guys
so
want to try
let
2
them pick.
5s?
Let
Let the
pick.
Cardinals pick. Let's go to the next team.
Okay,
All right.
that's fine. Do it.
Let's cancel, and I'll try
Unless
and do it.
Jets.
I imagine there's some teams gonna start picking wide receivers for real.
All right. So it's tough to pause at one pick after, but the Jaguars took Bryce Hall, so we can try trading with Cleveland.
Yeah.
There's the team on the clock now.
What pick is that?
74 is on the clock. For some reason, it doesn't let me pause it directly after. Like, it has to make a pick. Like, I can't pause it right away.
Let's
So we
keep,
want to offer
let's keep trying our 4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6.
Yep.
All righty. To 74. Congratulations. The Browns have accepted your offer.
All right.
Nice.
So it only took 2 picks, but we got it. And we want to take Devon Hamilton here?
Devon
Yeah, for
Hamilton,
sure.
nose tackle, because goodbye, John Jenkins. You're old and they don't want you.
Yep. All right. So off the board, we are not picking again for a long time.
We're good with. I think.
Do we want to trade up though? Is there anybody
we
who
don't
should
have
be
much
looking
left
at?
now.
We give them
What are you
all.
gonna
We give
trade?
them the other 2 5ths and a 4th. No, I'm just kidding.
We lost our 4th, right?
Yeah,
we lost
that's
our
right.
4th. I say we just
Okay.
let it run a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
for a
stop
while,
it.
yeah, but we're not going
I'll
back
stop
to
it
the
at
third round.
I'll stop it at the start of the 4th, and we can take a look at the board if we want to move up a little bit.
Well, this is where we can have a discussion about some mid-round picks that we might want to look at. Like, are there any players in specific that might be some later round gems that the media need to keep an eye on?
Hey
I think
Dante,
you're looking for Roth.
I tweeted out that we were going to be recording and asked some people for some guys, and they just wanted to hear your opinion on some names if I could throw
Okay.
them out to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead and
yeah,
pause,
let's do it.
Dante, just in case we miss everybody.
No, I got it. All right.
All right, so
Yeah,
and
throw
I
'em
don't know, I don't even know one of these names. Sorry, everybody, I'm not a draft
okay.
expert. I worry about the players after they're Dolphins. That's when I know. But I'm gonna give you the first one, Anthony, and it was Sevich. Seriously, Sevich. I don't even recognize his name. Sorry, dude. But Anthony Gordon.
Anthony Gordon. So he's the quarterback from Washington State.
Okay, never mind. Okay. Sorry,
yeah, I
Savage. You should have asked about something else besides a quarterback. But you know what, Dante? Go ahead. Give us your opinion. Just think-
Yeah, I think he's an interesting late day 3 option. I think something that I've played around with when I've done Dolphin simulations myself is drafting 2 quarterbacks.
That's what I was about to say. It's like double.
Josh
Yeah.
Rosen sucks, Chad.
No, I unless you have Josh Rosen traded or you think you can stash one on the practice squad, I think it's just a waste of a pick.
I don't think you can get Gordon on the practice squad, but
No,
I think he'll
Patriots will scoop
probably
him up
go
like that.
Yeah, I was about to say I think he'd be a good Patriot, but Gordon's really interesting. Just that he threw for like an insane amount of yards, an insane amount of touchdowns. He's got the arm talent to be an NFL quarterback. He throws a really good touch. He's got enough juice behind it. His mechanics are super weird. He's got that like Josh Allen syndrome where his feet will go dead in the pocket. It looks like he's standing there like a statue sometimes.
So Justin Herbert. That's his biggest knock.
Don't say that, man. We're probably going to end up with Justin Herbert. I don't want to hear that crap.
Herbert does not have that problem as much as Anthony Gordon does. I mean, Anthony Gordon will literally he looks like he'll get frozen in the pocket sometimes, but he's got the arm talent. I think, I worry about mental processing and different things like that. He threw a lot of interceptions, a lot of like Jameis Winston-esque interceptions at Washington State. And he's coming from a Mike Leach system that worries me if I'm a potential NFL team. I mean, just, that offense does not ask the quarterback to make a lot of reads or a lot of different progressions. So there's talent with Anthony Gordon. I think he's interesting, but for Miami's purposes, that would not be a player I would consider unless he's there in like the 7th round.
Okay, I got a few more names for you if you're ready.
Yeah,
again, don't know these players, so I don't know what position they are, where they would go. But Amik Robertson, that name sounds familiar, like we've talked about him. But
yeah, he's actually on the board right now. He's a cornerback from Louisiana Tech. The kid's he might be 5'9" or 5'10". He's quite short, but man, is he tough. I mean, he gets into the grill of people. He loves to body check and hand fight and all that jazz. I think Brian Flores will really, really like him as a slot guy. Just personally, I think his toughness, Brian Flores will love that. There's a rep where he goes against Colin Johnson from Texas, and Colin Johnson is like 6'6", and he looks like he's a foot taller than Robinson on the football field, and Robinson just absolutely bodies him at the line of scrimmage. So he's a tough player. I like him a good bit. I think the question, obviously, looking at it from a Dolphins perspective is, are they going to invest in the cornerback position? And if they do, how high will they invest in that position? They've already invested a ton of money with Howard and Jones. So
can I ask you something? I'm gonna bring up a name, Ron, just because I'm curious. I read up on a guy named Asang Bassi. I don't remember what school he's from, but reading up on the evaluations that Draft Network has on him and watching kind of what it is that he does, the scariest thing is that he actually reminds me of Brent Grimes.
Don't you say that name.
Listen, without Miko, we would love Brent Grimes. Okay.
I guess he didn't help our locker room any, bro. He didn't help. I don't want to go down that road, but he didn't help.
But on the field, we loved him.
Oh yes, on the field he was amazing. I was a fan on the field.
You say that's fair, Dante, or am I way off base with that?
I would say you're way off base with that. I'm not a big Asang Bassi guy. I just think that, there's some intriguing things as far as, I think he could play in the slot maybe. He's got some good ball skills. I like his work in zone. I think he's a zone guy. He went to Wake Forest, by the way. And
that's what Brent did.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I just don't know if he's quick enough or fast enough. That's my question. Is I don't know if he can stick with NFL receivers because he struggled.
That's exactly some of the highest percentage of man in the league.
He does.
Yeah, that was going to be another thing. Is schematically for Miami, I don't know. I mean, I think he's a zone cover guy and probably a slot. So you're looking at not only is he a scheme limited player, but he's also a role limited player. He might even be a safety, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
No, I get that, but that's why I said Brent Grimes specifically, because every knock that was on Grimes is the same ones that you just listed off of Bassi. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough. He doesn't tackle. I understand that. But when you find talent like that, and you can see parallels, which I did, I understand the scheme part of it. That's why the Dolphins probably aren't going to pick him, but when you say, oh, he's not fast enough, he's not this enough, but he jumps routes and he makes plays, it's dang, that guy reminds me of this other guy. So I don't think the Dolphins will pick him by any means, but I think that it's something at least worth considering because Brent Grimes made a long career out of one where he shouldn't have had a career to begin with.
Yeah, I think, Grimes was a bit of a technician out there, and I just don't see that with Bassey right now. That doesn't mean he can't develop into that. Every year we see guys who are 6, 7 round picks, which is probably where Bassey's going to go, turn out to be really good. So
And Grimes
I
was
don't want
drafted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like dismissive of it. Like there's no way he can be a dude. I just, his path to success is, there's a ton of hurdles to jump over, at least in my opinion.
Fair enough. All right, Ron. Sorry to interrupt your list.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's awesome discussion. That's why we're doing this. Just discuss as many players as we can. Really, that's kind of the purpose. All right, I got another name for you. If I can pronounce it.
Okay.
Azoya Alufoye. I think we might have already talked about him, but Auzoyah is his first name. His last name Alufohai. Azuya Alufoye or Alufai or something.
Just scroll down. It's got to be there somewhere.
I don't know that one. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, no worries. It's probably an undrafted free agent. I got another one for you. Francis Bernard. I can pronounce that name.
Okay, yeah. So he's a linebacker from Utah, BYU transfer, which is pretty rare. Those teams are heated rivals, but he's really interesting in that I think he's really smart. I think he's probably a 2-down player, though. He's not exactly the type of linebacker that the NFL is looking for, but the Dolphins are a team that I think likes those type of linebackers. We saw last year where someone like Raekwon McMillan had a better season than Jerome Baker.
I really disagree with that, but that's just me. I know I'm in the minority there. I know I am.
Look, I think Jerome Baker is the better player. I just think that Raekwon McMillan, as far as schematically speaking, is more what this Dolphins team is trying to do. Yeah, Jerome Baker, fair.
That's fair.
I would rather have Jerome Baker in a bubble for sure. I think he's significantly better, but Raekwon McMillan just, they want those run stoppers. That's what you're going to get with Francis Bernard, an athletically limited guy who can come downhill. He's going to make smart plays in the run game. He can dodge blocks and kind of get in there and make some plays. I don't know if the Dolphins addressed linebacker in the draft.
I don't think so. The linebacker position is like it's set, honestly.
Yeah, they obviously they bring in Kyle Van Noy, who's kind of a linebacker edge hybrid. They bring back Vince Beagle on a restricted free agent deal. Andrew Van Ginkel's still in the building. Jerome Baker, Raekwon McMillan. So I don't know if they address it. Sam McLaughlin's
still there too.
Yeah, I forgot about Sam. I'm trying to forget about Sam McLaughlin, but
as a starter, he's no good, but as a role player, he can help.
The Roberts guy we got from the Patriots,
and Landon Roberts.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to do any 2-down line. We've got plenty. Cal Van Noy can play 2-down middle linebacker. Obviously, Raekwon McMillan can do it. I just don't see it. If it's somebody like Isaiah Simmons, where you could move them all over the place, maybe. But
there's that name again.
I don't.
Yeah, as long as I'm around, you'll hear that.
I'm just pointing out, he
wouldn't
be only playing linebacker, but this team's, for the first time in many years, as fans, we're loaded at linebacker. I just don't see us. Linebacker and receiver, I'll be surprised if we use many assets at all at both those positions in this draft.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
All right. So anything else, Ron, or is that it?
I just want to mention that it was C.R. Cragen who gave us those names. So
all right.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, guys. If anybody else hits us up while we're recording, I'll throw them out there.
We got to be finishing up anyway. I know Dante's got to get out of here to get on another show. So
yeah, I'm a busy man on these days.
All right. So who's on the board exactly? Like, is there anybody we should even bother looking at this point, or do we just let it keep rolling?
I say we just let it keep rolling. That Robertson kid's on the board. We just talked to Tech. Alohi Gilman's a safety I kind of like. There's some blocking tight ends, some projects at receiver, interior lineman. Yeah, Thaddeus Moss is on the board right now. If we want to trade up for him, we'd have a long way to go though. Trade up for him. So, but that's up to you guys if you think he's a dude.
Do we trust in the Moss bloodline here?
The Randy or the Santana, or is that the same bloodline?
Isn't he like Randy's nephew or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's Randy's kid.
Oh, okay, so he's Randy's son. Okay.
Yeah, they could not be more different players at all. Like I don't think I could draw one similarity in their games other than they both can catch.
Nice.
Yeah. Outside of that, he's a solid kid for what he can do, but I mean, he's just not even close to the player his father was.
Is he gonna get? I mean, he's gonna be drafted though, right?
He's
Yeah,
listed as
no,
a tight end, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a really good blocker. I mean, somebody will pick him on day 3 and let him be a tight end too. And
Okay, can he beat
I think he's.
Smythe?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a low bar, so I'm going to go with yeah. I mean, he was putting dudes in the dirt at LSU, so in the SEC, so that should tell you something. He's a really good blocker. He's got no juice. I mean, he can't move, so that's up to you guys. Yeah.
I'm not saying we do it now, but one thing I don't think we've talked about is we keep completely ignoring the tight end position because we look at and we have Gesicki, and he kind of had that surge there in the second half of last season.
Because they use him as a pass catcher.
Behind Gesicki, I don't know how beautiful it looks on our team. I just wouldn't be surprised if Miami invests in a. Wouldn't be surprised if they invest in like a 4th or 5th tight end. It's a very bad tight end class. That's part of the issue. I think we're not talking about it. It's just not a good class anyway. But don't be surprised if they see a guy they like in those later rounds that they, give some competition to Smythe, try and develop a young guy, etc. Now Smythe is going in year 3, and the way tight ends take so long to develop, I wouldn't look at that guy. Even Thaddeus Moss competing really hard against Smythe this year. But, so year 2, year 3, or, year 2, year 3, well, that's pretty bad because rookie tight ends almost never perform, especially late round ones. They just almost never perform.
If you're talking about statistical, like, receptions and stuff, yeah. But if you're just talking about blocking,
But see, with the tight end, Dante, you can probably agree with this. With a tight end in the NFL, it's not just blocking. It's never just blocking. There's so many different things you're responsible for, even as just a quote unquote blocker. I mean, there's just a lot of reads you have to make. You have to understand so many things of what you're doing. It is the hardest position to adapt to in the NFL, besides maybe quarterback. And even we've seen quarterbacks come in and have more success in a rookie year than tight ends usually do. It is so rare, especially those late round ones. It just takes a long time. We don't know that Smythe is trash. He's coming into year 3. He might blossom a little bit.
He's that's what he is.
He's
like Chad's boy Balaj.
I think he's a fullback. I'm not even sure he's a tight end. I think he's a fullback. We might be better off. I mean, I don't know. I'd give Balaj
then he's like
a shot
an
at tight
H-back,
end,
like a Charles Clay, or
yeah.
just not that athletic.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely that kind of role for Smythe. That's closer to what he did at Notre Dame. I just, he was. I never understood that pick, specifically the round that it was.
I didn't either. I was like, what are we doing this for? I don't like it.
We had no tight ends at the time. That's just another position we've really struggled with over the years to have good talent in. Ever since Charles Clay left, am I missing somebody?
We just misused it.
Well, I mean, I understand that Gase completely blew Gesicki's.
Philbin too, man. Michael Agnew was a pass catcher. They tried.
Michael Agnew shouldn't have even been on the team. That guy was horrible, man. Come on. With that.
Listen, I personally think you can sneak in on second wave. What about a guy like, say, Delaney Walker? You could bring in.
Walker comes in, he's expected to start.
Well, that's my point. If you're going to run some 2 tight end sets, Delaney Walker with Gesicki would be pretty good, because Delaney Walker is somebody that he's multi-purpose. He can actually block as well as get out in space and beat some one-on-one coverages. Durham Smythe is nothing but a blocker.
If that's the case, then I'll ask this. How much faith do we have that a veteran tight end is actually going to come in and do something for Miami? Because so far, after Charles Clay, we have had Dustin Keller, never played.
Well,
Jordan Cameron.
That was a bad break for him.
Julius Thomas.
Yeah, but you're talking. I don't know. You got to look at Chan Gailey and how much 2 tight ends does Chan Gailey want to run?
I don't think much.
And I don't know if that's where, because I mean, if you're going to run a fullback, that's just your formation. So if you're going to run a fullback, you don't maybe run as much 2 tight end sets out of that. Is your lead blocking your fullback versus a lot of times the tight ends. I don't know what Miami's. I think that's the real question right now is, are we going to come in and run the spread, which is what Chan Gailey's known for. I mean, Brian Flores went and got Chan Gailey for a reason. And,
and it wasn't to tell him to run 2 and 3 tight end sets. He's got Chan Gailey to run Chan Gailey's offense. So
no, I think you're looking at teams right now that are tough to stop offensively, and that's a team like the Chiefs, and you're got some skill guys that are really fast with a good quarterback, and I I don't think you can come in and ground and pound. I like to be able to shift into it, 2 tight end sets, and be able to pound the football.
If that's the case, then stick with Smythe. He can block.
Well, I think that's probably what you're going to see, but.
All right, so let's go ahead and let the draft keep running then, because it feels like we're arguing in circles about something we're not going to do.
You may be right on that.
Yeah, we got a long way to go here before we pick again.
Can you fast forward? Do they have a fast forward?
No, unfortunately,
it just goes as it goes. So
a turbo button.
But this is the thing. Can you show us who are the picks we've made so far? How many picks have we made exactly? 5, right?
So we have picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys.
We've already picked the whole draft's worth of players. Anything at this point is gravy.
Tua, McKinney, Ruiz, Niang, Jones, Akers, and Hamilton.
I like it.
That's the whole draft.
How do we like this draft compared to last week's draft?
Better.
Well, with that draft, we got Tua, but we also got Kinlaw. We got Jones too, by the way. We got Jones on that one too. Yeah,
and we got Kinlaw and McKinney. I don't know. I mean, defensive wise, I don't feel like it was better overall because we did more with our line on this draft. I'd say maybe overall it was better, but if we could get Kinlaw and McKinney, I mean, I get that what it does to us with offensive line, but you're talking about almost. I don't want to get too cocky here, but you're talking about almost finishing off that defense. From a growth and youth perspective to where in the next few years, they're going to be a top defense in this league if we had a draft like that.
I think if you're talking about how competitive the team is next year, getting Hamilton late here to be your rotational guy, you're still getting McKinney. The defense is still be very good, I think.
When I think of elite defenses,
you've got to get that line.
When I think of elite defenses, I have to think my generation, okay? Because I wasn't alive for like the no-name defense and stuff like that. But the defense that the Dolphins had in the past, like in the 90s and early 2000s, that was stacked. Daryl Gardner, Tim Bowens, Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Patrick Surtain, Sam Madison, Brock Marion, Terrell Buckley.
Yeah.
If you could somehow find replacements for all those guys and then get a quarterback like Tua, who is actually
we had
a quarterback.
We don't
like having – I don't want to say it this
send
way,
guys to the Pro Bowls, but maybe like 1 or 2 guys a year. And back then we were sending like 6, 7 guys to the Pro Bowl.
And we had Ricky Williams, and we couldn't even sniff the AFC Championship.
Well, that's because the Jay Fiedler thing, because it's like Jay Fiedler's not
right.
Tua.
But,
assuming he's healthy.
I think that getting the offensive line addressed is the number. This defense, as is right now, if we don't draft anybody, is still going to be very competitive in this league.
Oh, for sure.
Right now, last year we could not run the football at all, and that's the number one thing they're going to have to address with this draft. Is more important than getting a quarterback is getting a line put together so we can run the football. Because Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick can win football games if we have a decent running game, and that's going to require a lineman to do it.
Well, we definitely took care of that.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards this draft too, as we're kind of finishing up here. I think just investing in the line heavily is really good. And, I love Javon Kinlaw. He's a top 15 player in this class. But, you look at this, you probably get a starting guard and then your future starting center in Cesar Ruiz. You get a right tackle in Lucas Niang, who's starting caliber traits. You get Josh Jones, another starting caliber player. I think plus you add in your quarterback, you get Xavier McKinney on the back end, and then you have Akers and Hamilton who are, rotational contributors. I think this draft is much more suited to what the Dolphins need.
It's better rounded. Yeah, it is better rounded for sure. Can't argue that. Better rounded.
It really sets us up well for the draft next year as well. I mean, we've got a young foundation of a line.
No, what sets us up for the draft? You know what sets us up better for the draft next year?
All right, he's going to say something smart. I'm waiting for it.
Trading DeAndre Hopkins.
You hope. Yeah. I don't know. But next year, if you have all those young offensive linemen in there, and I agree with Dante, if 1 or 2 of them pan out, next year we should be coming into potentially a draft with not a ton of desperate needs and plenty of picks, which is where you want to be. So.
Yes, totally agree.
So where are we now at this point? It's still rolling, right?
We're at 154. We're on the clock.
We are. Okay.
Yeah, we have Tyler Johnson, Janae O'Grady, Devin Duvernay, Josiah DeGuara, Isaiah Hodgins, Josiah Scott, Julian Blackman, Quintez Cephas, Terrence Steele, David Woodward, and Michael Owenahu. So a lot of receivers. Most of the guys I just said are receivers.
I assume Moss went a while ago.
Oh, yeah, he's gone. So Josiah Scott's a cornerback. Julian Blackman's a safety. Terrence Steele's another tackle. You could take another interior lineman, Kyle Murphy from Rhode Island. It's kind of an interesting guy, not too far down the board. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I know wide receiver is not a position that we really need to address.
I am positive that there's going to be a bunch of undrafted free agents that are going to be signed as wide receivers when this is all said and done. But if I'm the Dolphins, knowing what we have already, like even still, there's not even enough space on the 55-man roster for all the guys that we even are going to have already. So the only way that it makes any sense is if you're going to use one of those extra slots on the active roster for a wide receiver, and then you put Isaiah Ford on there because that's number 6. You don't need any more.
Obviously, you're just taking best player available at this point.
Yeah, that's why I brought up wide receiver. I just think there's a couple guys on here that I think are BPA.
So how about that safety? Is that he's
Julian
not good
Blackman?
at all?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of his. I just think that he's been banged up a little bit here. He hasn't gone through the pre-draft process, and I don't know. I have a lot of processing questions about where he's supposed to be in coverage and different things like that. I think he might be more of a box guy than anything else.
We just traded our box guy.
Yeah, I think that could be an option. I would maybe look at even drafting another lineman here, honestly, which I know it's crazy, but
I'm fine with that. I guess the one question I would have, Dante, for you with the running backs that are left on the board, is there anybody you believe that could outperform Gaskins or Laird
or Balaj? Listen, Gaskins outplayed Balaj, okay? Everybody outplayed Balaj.
I don't really love any of the running backs on the board right now. I think the best one's probably Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt. He's a straight line speed guy. He's not going to make a ton of cuts or make a couple guys miss. But if he's got a big hole, I mean, he's got some juice in his legs. So
Kalen Balaj?
No, he's almost a direct opposite of Kalen Balaj in every way.
I forget what Balaj was drafted for. What was he good at? Catching passes?
He was very productive at Arizona State. I mean,
I was about to say
he was a good college running back. I mean, I don't know what happened.
He had one game where he scored like 7 touchdowns in a game against like UCLA or something. It was like in one of those Pac-12 after dark crazy games that they have up there. And after that, his stock like blew up. But I don't know. I had like a 6 on him, so I never got that. But
so the best player available in your estimation is a wide receiver for real?
Yeah, that's what I would do here. I would draft a receiver, and I think there's a couple good options. Tyler Johnson from Minnesota is a good little slot receiver. I think he's better than Isaiah Ford right now. Personally, if you're looking at an upgrade.
I mean, really, who we were using slot last year is we were using Hearns. So the big question is, could he get on the field this year, or let's say next year, ahead of Hearns?
I think he could.
I'm not impressed with Hearns. Ford can do that.
Well, I think kind of what Ryan was saying with tight end, I think that's true with receiver now too. With the complexity of the NFL, it's tough to bring in a rookie wide receiver in any round and have them really, really productive right away. There's just so much nuances to learn in routes and reads.
Jarvis Landry.
Well, we see receivers that have started to show some explosion and figure it out by end of season 1. You almost never see that with a tight end. Right. So, it's still a little quicker than the tight end.
If you get a real talented like a Preston Williams, or you can just put him outside. He's so difficult to stop, just jump ball and one-on-one. You can make him productive quick. But I think you're looking at the 2021, so you're looking at a practice squad guy probably. I wouldn't expect him to come in and beat out Hearns right away. But next year, I don't see Hearns or Isaiah Ford being on this team, and so you're looking at potentially a player that could replace him.
And possibly Wilson. I mean, you could see.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking about preparing for the fact that in 2021 we could see a little bit of an overhaul in number receivers 3, 4, 5, what have you.
I absolutely think that's coming.
Yeah. So in that case, I like it, and that's an awesome position to be in. That we don't feel desperate at this point. at any spot that we can start drafting, thinking about, well, what about when this guy leaves in 2021? Dude, that's how the Patriots have done it for 20 years. They are not thinking about what do I need most of the time. They are not usually desperate. And when they are, they don't have as good a season like this year. You could see they were way lacking in tight end. They hadn't developed it. They hadn't developed wide receiver, or it just didn't work out. That's when they usually weren't having as good a season. When you see the Patriots shine is when you watch players that shine in a year or two. When they were names you didn't even realize they drafted. They drafted 4th, 5th round. They developed them because they had other guys there. And then all of a sudden those guys move on to big contracts. They don't pay it. And then here you go. You got this guy you never heard of or other people hadn't heard of blowing up and contributing. That's a great spot to be in. And it's kind of exciting to know that if we play our cards right, we could almost be in that spot, even though I understand we were a 5-win team. So I'm not trying to compare us to the Patriots, but that's been the Patriots model. A lot of what Bill Belichick has been able to do. So I'm okay with the pick.
Receiver.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, Tyler Johnson, and we're gonna let it run for quite a while. I'm not really sure. Oh no, 173 is gonna be our next pick.
Best player available, probably more wide receivers and stuff.
Yeah,
Rhode Island
This is
Lions still available?
Hold on, we're getting there.
It's crazy how loaded with wide receivers this draft is, for real.
Yeah.
It's
All
like
right, so we're
the
on the
year of the
board.
receiver.
We got Javelin Goudry. He's a corner from Utah. Harrison Bryant, a tight end from Florida Atlantic. Shaq Quarterman's a linebacker from Miami. Miles Bryant's a corner from Washington. Khalil Davis is a defensive tackle, Nebraska. Antoine Brooks Jr. is a safety from Maryland. Colby Parkinson, tight end from Stanford, and Antonio Gandy-Golden, a receiver from Liberty, are the top players. So
Tight ends.
if I was narrowing this down, I'd probably narrow it down to Antoine Brooks Jr., the safety from Maryland, just because I think he's a perfect scheme fit as far as what Miami wants to do. He's a box safety, but he's versatile. He has experience at linebacker and a safety.
I actually drafted him once for one of my off-season plans for 5 reasons. So
yeah, I think I think he's a Patrick, or not Patrick Graham, but a Brian Flores type guy. And then I don't know. I would consider maybe
Khalil Davis from Nebraska.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd consider maybe Khalil Davis as a raw guy that you can mold into. But he's not going to play probably year one, I don't think.
Why?
But there's
he
a
hurt?
ton of there's just I don't think he's NFL ready from a technique standpoint. I think you got to sit him probably, but I mean he's super athletic. He's built like a fridge. He's like 6'2", 320 something.
I was thinking you might even be able to get him doing some rotational work later in the season.
So he's just a
maybe.
physical freak.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point,
he ran like a really good 10-yard split at the combine. He like ran faster than some receivers within
can he
10
do a
yards. No, he's not Kalen Saunders. He cannot do back jump, sadly. But
I think for the spot, that's a good spot.
I was thinking Jordan Phillips, but yeah, okay.
Jordan Phillips is he's a gap penetrating D tackle anyway. This guy I think would be good.
Well, we've already got a nose tackle though. That's what I'm thinking. It's like we don't.
But just keep in mind you got to, especially in Miami, you need a rotational system interior, especially if you end up having a game where your defense has to be on the field a lot of minutes. Your D tackles wear out fast in those games, so I think we're thin at D tackle right now. Even after drafting Hamilton, I think we're still thin. So I think
Wilkins, Godshaw, and wait, is that it? There's no way that's it. For real?
Well, we got rid of Peters, right? Or what was his name?
You mean Jenkins? Well, he hasn't been brought back.
And he's older as it is. I'm just saying you probably need 4 D tackles rotational in the NFL, especially in Miami.
Because I think in my mind I'm thinking, okay, some of these edge guys we got are actually going to end up being tackles too. Like
only in distance downs. You can't move them in. Like our edge guys like Shaq Lawson and Ogba, you can move them inside on maybe 3rd and 5 or more. But if you're talking 3rd and 4th quarter and we're behind by 10 points and the team wants to pound the football, you need rotational D tackles that can stuff the middle.
I gotcha. All right, so yeah, let's go with Khalil Davis. I know that Dante's got to go, so let's speed this up.
Yeah, we got to get through these last picks.
Okay.
I don't think we pick again for a bit. So
I don't think we pick until the 7th. Do you just want to cut it here? I mean, do we need to do the 7th? Let's just
Yeah,
cut
we
it
can
now.
cut it.
We're good to go. We'll let Dante get the heck out of here.
All right,
All right,
just to review the picks real quick before we go. Tua Tagovailoa at 5, Xavier McKinney at 18, Cesar Ruiz at 26, Lucas Niang at 39, Josh Jones at 56, Cam Akers at 70. We traded up for Devon Hamilton at 74, Tyler Johnson at 154, and Khalil Davis at 173.
I love it. It's my favorite draft so far.
Yeah, definitely.
right.
It's interesting. So,
Okay.
so next week, another mock 3.0. And I mean, what are we thinking? Are we going to just go all in for
Next week, I want to move up to get a tackle. Not necessarily at 5, but I want to come from 18 or 26 up.
How about next week? And again, we can talk about it next week. What about next week drafting the best tackle at 5, unless Simmons is there, or I quit. And
you want a Simmons version? No,
yeah,
let's
say we take a tackle at 5 and let happen what happens at quarterback. Whether we move up to get a quarterback, whether we stay at 18 and see if Love hits, or maybe we get Lucky Herbert.
Right.
Just a thought. I mean, we do whatever you guys want, but it's just some different strategies we can employ that is not moving up for Burrow.
Not gonna lie, I want a Simmons version too, where we just pick Simmons and then see
I'd
where
love to see what it looks like. It's exciting to think about. What if we could end up with like Herbert and as much you guys know I'm a Tua stan, as they call it. You guys know I'm like on the Tua, but I mean it's almost worth it to me to have Simmons and Herbert and then still build the line. That's just worth it to me.
If you get Herbert past 6, I'm stunned.
Well, whoever's at 6 will probably pick Tua over Herbert.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
think
you
so.
could still end up with Tua.
I think Tua is more likely to fall than Herbert.
Some boards have him dropping to 18.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, half the teams in the league will not touch Tua unless it's like second round or something, just because of the risk and he's left-handed and unorthodox.
With all these videos he's posting of him throwing the football and running around like a maniac, I don't think they're
Just
worried
keep in
about
mind, if somebody moves up, I think it's more likely for Herbert than Tua. That's what I'm telling you right now.
That's interesting. No, I can't argue with it. I think it's a possibility.
Dante, by any
I just
chance,
say
did we get our on the clock by any chance?
No, we're not on the clock right now.
Okay, just wondering because I'm
I
like,
paused it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I would just be curious to see what it would look like to take a non-quarterback at 5 and then see what we need to do from there to get that quarterback, whether it's we wait, take our chances, or whether it is move up there.
No,
And maybe we do take a tackle, not Simmons. Maybe Simmons is gone, etc. But
This is kind of cheating the system a little bit, but I mean, I run these simulations a lot. I am telling you, Jordan Love will be there at 18.
I'm sure. Too.
9 out of 10 times he will be there at 18.
I mean, would not be heartbroken to get Love at 18 and do something.
Yeah, so I think we could definitely try that next week.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that then. So, Dante, do me a favor. When we're off camera, go ahead and just make a random pick and then send me the final results so that I can put it up as our little teaser for the show. And but as for the rest of this show, so good draft, gentlemen. And next week we'll try out something a little different and going the non-quarterback route. So thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of the Dolphins Brawl. Hopefully we'll have some more for you real soon. And then the real draft will be happening, folks. And I can't wait to see what happens. All right. Good night.